evening, and welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson, of course, with tonight is the cubby with mostest, Techy Joe. How are you, darling?
I'm doing great. How are you this evening?
Pretty good, pretty good. Firing up the socials.
Gotta get it out there.
Yeah,
Let
kind of.
everyone know we're on and where to come find us.
Yes. Um, some sad news came in. Why don't we lead with that while I'm getting this together?
Yeah. So unfortunately, Dianne Feinstein of California, trailblazer and champion of liberal priorities, dies at age 90. This is from AP News. U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, a centrist Democrat and champion of liberal causes, who was elected to the Senate in 1992 and broke gender barriers throughout her long career in local and national politics, has died. She was 90. Feinstein died on Thursday night at her home in Washington, D.C., her office said on Friday. Tributes poured in all day. Opening the Senate floor, Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced that we lost a giant in the Senate. As the nation mourns this tremendous loss, we know how many lives she impacted and how many glass ceilings she shattered along the way, Schumer said, his voice cracking. President Joe Biden, who served with Feinstein for years in the Senate, called her a pioneering American, a true trailblazer, and a cherished friend. California Governor Gavin Newsom will appoint a temporary replacement, and there is sure to be a spirited battle to succeed her. Feinstein, the oldest sitting U.S. Senator, was a passionate advocate for liberal priorities important to her state, including environmental protection, reproductive rights, and gun control, but was also known as a pragmatic lawmaker who reached out to Republicans and sought middle ground. Her death came after a bout of shingles sidelined her for more than 2 months earlier this year, an absence that drew frustration from her most liberal critics and launched an unsuccessful attempt by Democrats to temporarily replace her on the Senate Judiciary Committee. When she returned to the Senate in May, she was frail and using a wheelchair, voting only occasionally. On Friday, her Senate desk was draped in black and topped with a vase of white roses. Senators gave tearful tributes as members of the California House delegation stood in the back of the chamber, and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sat in the gallery with Feinstein's daughter, Catherine. So yeah, that's
Yeah, that's sad.
it's very sad. It's very sad. If you needed another reason to hate the 2020s,
Yeah, well, and here's the thing.
but
She was, what, way past retirement.
well, she was 90.
Yeah.
Yes. But I know in the last election it was a very big question whether she would run again.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean it's sort of the coin toss sometimes when you have people who have served very well
Right.
and have been strong representatives for their state, their causes, and been wonderful elected officials.
Right. But it
Or
may, I mean, come on. California. Well, let's just bring it home. West Virginia, can we just stop this voting people in that should be like sitting at home with their grandchildren,
great grandchildren.
great grandchildren?
I mean, at night.
Yeah.
I there. I think sometimes though it's a real struggle though
Uh huh.
to find an equivalent replacement.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I think some representatives hit that perfect sweet spot
Right.
in terms of representing a state or representing the people or are just so good at their job. It can be really hard to sit there and go, but who replaces them?
Right.
Who is most capable to do this in their stead and offer, though at the same time they're and we've talked about it a lot on the show, there it does come a point when it's like how much of the people do you really understand,
Right.
like at 90,
Right.
um how connected are you still
Right.
with the modern world? I It gets debatable.
Right.
I think she was definitely one who very much tried to stay in the loop, which is
Yeah.
nothing can be said for many of the old white men sitting around her. Many of whom were so clueless,
Right.
um, and additionally also sought to utilize her staff to bridge the gap and tell her what she didn't know.
Right.
Again, much better
Yeah,
than
much better than asking, does TikTok access the internet at home?
Mm-hmm. Or does it have access to the home network?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when you look around the room, sometimes it's like, and she's 90, she's doing great compared to the rest of the room that sounds like a kindergarten class.
Right.
Because these are also some of our repeatedly elected representatives from other states,
especially our current setting.
Well, exactly. But in comparison, then you have, West Virginia, which has repeatedly elected Joe Manchin,
Right.
who just couldn't connect the dots of, his daughter's involvement with the EpiPen
Mm-hmm.
and Mylar Pharmaceuticals, and how just completely out of touch you have to be
Mm-hmm.
that that a product that really hasn't changed other than like minor revisions of its delivery device,
Right.
and or even have concerns about how his role in the Senate has affected this company's ability
Right.
to effectively secure the product rights
Right.
to a otherwise defunct product. I mean, it's still ubiquitous, or was, as the leading method, the leading device that one used for anaphylactic shock emergencies.
Uh-huh.
And just sit there in a product that at this point in its life should be getting cheaper.
Right.
And it should be as common as, pens and pencils.
Right.
Like you should almost be able to walk into a Dollar General and pick up an EpiPen.
Right.
Like it's at that phase of its life cycle, though again still widely used and well tolerated, and one of the best products for allergic reactions, to just jack the price, much like we've seen done with insulin in the same boat, which the insulin originally developed and released for what, a $1 patent?
Yeah.
Or just free? I can't remember. It was one of the two. It was,
No, he didn't sell it for one.
yeah. That basically the idea was this product is too necessary
Mm-hmm.
to have an arbitrary price barrier thrown at it, but can't make that connection. Why this would be a problem, why this would be an issue, why this should be something
Right.
that we really need to prevent.
Well, and see, this is the down path of this. They've now closed that factory in West Virginia. Why? Because no one prescribed it. Because no one can afford to buy it.
Mm-hmm. So West Virginia lost out on that one. That is now, I think, the leading product that you're going to get prescribed is based out of Virginia. I think
Right.
it's Reston, Virginia, with the Auvi-Q.
Yeah.
Which is a great product. And if you want to talk about a product advancement, that was a product advancement. Like,
Right.
it walks you through it. It audibly walks you through it.
Right.
It will voice guide you in how to administer.
Right. It's a lovely product.
And they do it for less than a fifth of the cost. less
Right.
than 20% of what Mylar wanted to charge, because Mylar was up to $500 a shot.
600 a shot, and you had to have two.
Yeah, so yeah, you had to buy the twin pack. Which, well, and with that, the AviQ comes not only with two shots or two dosings, but it also has a tester,
Mm-hmm.
as in a dummy product that still has all the voice commands, so you can train a trainer. That's what they call it.
Right.
So yeah, we're not sponsored by AviQ. It's just in this situation, like I will talk them up one side and down the other
Well, not
because
only that, but their CS is great.
yeah, like all of it's great. And for what is that, like 32.50 a dose?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's way more in the realm
Right.
of this is where this product ought to be.
Right.
Like that can be hard for some families, and I understand that. But it's a hell of a lot better.
Right.
So yeah, like no, I'll talk that up all day long because that's a product improvement. That's a brilliant idea. That is a great way to have this. That is understanding we sell a life-saving device and we need to respect that. Like this isn't cosmetic.
Mm-hmm. But
This
he very often makes decisions that are bad for West Virginia over and over again. And now we've got Dum Dum running. Baby Dog's handler is running. I don't believe they allow dogs into the state Congress, but maybe Baby Dog should run against them because I think she would do better.
Yeah. Like we don't have a problem with Baby Dog.
We like Baby
Please
Dog.
don't mistake. Like we love the dog.
Mm-hmm.
You want to put Baby Dog on the state's entrance signs, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
We can do that. Like we want to do that. I'm down.
Yeah.
You can just slap that dog's face right up there. I will appreciate that. Which again, stupid things West Virginia has done that have cost us so much ridiculous money.
Right.
Slap the governor's name on the entrance sign.
Right.
Really? Could we
need
not?
to know who the governor is.
More importantly, do you know how much those damn signs cost, and the fact that we now have to replace them potentially every 4 years?
Yeah.
Like if we go on a straight,
unfortunately.
Well, yeah, is what it works out to.
Yep.
Which some of those signs, well, those signs in general should be able to last for a good couple of decades.
Yeah, should be able to. All right, so let's rock on over. We're getting predictions of winter. I think I could do better predictions for winter, but let's see.
Well, no, I think you're having some issues with the way it's worded more than the prediction themselves. So NOAA releases 2023 to 2024 winter predictions for West Virginia. Oh, and this is from WBOI. For the first time in years, an El Nino winter is upon us. That means this year's winter outlook released by the Climate Prediction Center looks a little different than it has in several years. The last 3 winters have been dominated by La Nina, which typically means a dry winter in the southern half of the country and colder, wetter conditions in the Pacific Northwest. But that's not the case this year, as a strong El Nino looks very likely to stick with us through early next year. This year, the CPC, which is part of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, is forecasting above normal temperatures across the northern United States through the winter months. The best chance for a warmer than normal winter to occur in the Northeast, the Pacific Northwest, and the upper Great Lakes states. And in West Virginia, NOAA predicts temperatures will be slightly warmer than normal. For the southern half of the country, the temperature outlook for December, January, and February shows that there's an equal chance for temperatures to be normal, above normal, or below normal. Now that's where like you fell apart on this article. What the hell does that mean? And so basically, um, it's their prediction is a 3 spot prediction. So
Right.
normal and plus or minus a few degrees, and then above normal, below normal. So what they're basically doing is saying that there's a 1/3 chance of all three.
Right.
Like it can, but there's less likely of a chance that it's going to be extreme.
Right.
But when we're looking at other states, it's looking more towards being or the northern states. There's a much greater chance that it's going to be above normal um, by at least 50% or more, or excuse me, at least 33% or more. So it just like everything's weighted on that higher end.
Right. And I'm going to wait on it's going to be a warmer, wet winter.
Hey, I'm just happy to hear it's going to be a warmer winter because after the last 3 years, we could
Mhm.
use the reduction in heating cost.
Yes.
I think we all could. I think that's true of everyone. Like the last few winters,
Have been
really,
crazy.
really. Well, it's been a real financial kick in the.
Yes. Yes. Yes, it has.
So I'm looking forward to it. I call this a kind of good thing.
I call it a neutral thing.
Yeah.
All
I mean,
right.
if it pans out,
If
if
it pans out
we end up
again.
getting something else entirely, yeah.
Yeah, but
Um,
every map of West Virginia is kind of like, well, we don't know. It may be warmer, it may be colder. We're not answering the question.
well, we're right there, like basically because of the pattern,
Right.
we're right there on the line. So if it shifts just a little bit,
Yeah.
it can drastically change what it does for us.
Right.
So yeah, it does make big differences, but it also means that we may be encountering a lot of situations where we're in the literal middle of it.
Right.
So if we have like pushes for wet weather and then we pull down a cold front with it, like that
Right.
line shifts just a little, it's gonna be bad.
Right.
So we may have. I'm hoping that overall that it's one of those winters that it was warmer than normal.
Right.
And then we just got hit with a couple of really bad, deep, heavy snows.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like knock you out for a couple of days. Like we aren't going.
Hey, I'm fine. It can snow Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after Christmas. After that, that chip better pack its bag up till at least next year. All right. So moving on, working from home can damage productivity. Just look at the data. Well, the data's
All
in,
right.
bad boys.
Yes. So this comes from the Hill. To put a spin on a favorite British saying, I've been asked about productivity and working from home more times than I've have had hot dinners. So it's time to review all of the evidence and serve up one big answer to the question: does working from home work? In a nutshell, that answer is yes, but it's important to understand why, and this is where the data comes in. The numbers paint a picture of small, positive productivity gains for hybrid work. The savings in commuting time more than offset the losses in connectivity from fewer office days. In contrast, the impact of fully remote working on productivity is typically mildly negative. Fully remote workers can struggle with mentoring, innovation, and culture building. However, it appears this can be reversed with good management. Running remote teams is hard, but done well can deliver strong performance. But this is about more than just worker output. Firms care about profits, not productivity. Working from home massively reduces overhead. It drives down recruitment and retention costs as employees value working from home. Fully remote companies also slash office costs and cut wages bills by enabling national or global hiring. Indeed, the widespread adoption of working from home has been a triumph of capitalism. Higher profits have led millions of firms to adopt this, generating the five-fold increase in home working many of us now enjoy. Looking at microeconomic studies on working from home productivity, the classic is the Stanford study I helped oversee in 2010 to 2012. We randomized 250 employees in a large multinational firm into those who would work from home and those who would report to the office. The expectation, of course, was that home-based employees would goof off sleeping or watching TV rather than working. So we were shocked to find a massive 13% increase in productivity. The productivity boost came from two sources. First, remote employees worked 9% more in minutes per day. They were rarely late to work, spent less time gossiping and chatting with colleagues, and took shorter lunch breaks and fewer sick days. Remote employees also had 4% more output per minute. They told us it's quieter at home. The office was so noisy, many of them struggled to concentrate. Other pre-pandemic studies found similar results. For example, Raj Chaudhry found U.S. patent officers gained 4% productivity from greater remote flexibility. More recent, a spate of studies has studied the impact of firms moving to fully remote during the pandemic. Papers by Natalia Emanuel and Emma Harrington and by Michael Gibbs and co-authors find large and negative impacts on productivity. Most recent, David Atkin and co-authors randomized data entry workers between office and home locations, finding a striking 18% drop in productivity from home working. Those recent studies highlight major productivity costs from remote working, but they also reflect the importance of good management. Firms that adopted home working at speed in the pandemic often lacked planning, organization, and control processes. Remote teams were led by office-based and office-trained managers who provided little support or structure. Remote work is different from office work and needs managers, software, and hardware that can support. So yeah. So now for the macro data, let's start by celebrating the triumph of the post-2020 U.S. productivity acceleration. In the 5 years before the pandemic, U.S. labor productivity growth was 1.2%. Since 2020, this picked up to 1.5%. Given the state of the world, that acceleration was miraculous. What could have caused this? Perhaps rising government expenditure and easy monetary policy. Possibly, but greater government activity traditionally is associated with lower, not higher, productivity growth. Perhaps an acceleration in technology and computerization? Possibly, but the pandemic did not witness any pickup in technological progress. Perhaps the fivefold surge in working from home post-pandemic, maybe cutting billions of commuting hours, replacing millions of business trips with Zoom meetings, increasing the labor supply of Americans with disabilities or childcare commitments, and saving millions of square feet of office space and increased productivity? It is honestly hard to say. But we can say just as working from home jumped fivefold, U.S. productivity growth accelerated, reversing decades of pre-pandemic decline.
I know why it increased, because you can actually get work done.
And I think also given this.
Hey Gwen, come sit down, grab a coffee.
Hey Gwen, hey Shannon. I think there's some things to be said for the fact that because there's often been this idea that we have hit the peak of efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
That given our we've been working in the office for so many decades now. We've computerized the office. We have time saved the office. We have done everything we can to squeeze every last drop of productivity out of the office.
Right.
But somewhere in there, we've created this I don't even know what to call it, the cult of the office.
Mm-hmm.
That fundamentally has sought to try to find one last drop, one last ounce of productivity to just squeeze out of this already wrung out workforce.
Right.
And I think we've started to go in a negative direction with that.
Right.
That we're I mean, because realistically, when we think about it, a lot of what we saw pre-pandemic, and I think the only reason we were seeing any positive productivity, even though it was decreasing, the only reason we were seeing anything positive was because we had already moved into this idea of losing employees, reshuffling their work, losing employees, reshuffling their work, and just grinding down the average office worker with like a threefold responsibility. Because that's roughly where most office workers were, the position they were hired for versus the position they ended up with after, multiple staff changes had gotten to a point they were doing the work of 2 or 3 people.
Right.
So I think that was the last drop.
Well, not only that, but I think the drop comes in when you aren't getting days off, you aren't getting PO pay, you aren't getting attentive, your pay isn't on time. There's one confuckle after another.
Well, yeah. Well, but it also brings up the argument, it's a game of duck, duck, goose.
Right.
That's not even a good one. It's a game of dodgeball, really.
Yeah.
You started with, say, a department of 30 employees.
Mm-hmm.
You've one by one took them out.
Right.
With the dodgeball of this is too much, I can't do this, I'm done, I'm looking for a different job.
Right.
One way or another, or the meltdown office, you get fired. At some point, you hit no employee.
Right. And that's normally problematic. The other part of that, however, is when you have employees that can work from home or work wherever, they have to take less time off, they can manage their own schedule, the productivity goes up always.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Anything though, well, yeah, it always goes up with work from home. It definitely does.
And budgets get a lot more open when you don't have to have all this office space and we've got to go buy another file cabinet and we got to buy another office, we got to buy another desk. Gina broke the desk chairs again, we got to replace them.
Well, and it does move some of the standard office costs into the individual employee home budget.
Right.
Now, I don't think those costs should totally be burdened by the employee. I think companies need to definitely, when they're doing work from home, in addition to all the things you need to do to make that work successfully,
right,
is ensuring you have a reasonable budget
mm-hmm.
for office equipment for work from home employees.
Right.
Like I think that should be an allowance, much like uniforms and for other businesses.
Right. Right. So Microsoft, you'll never have to buy Windows again, is signaling, well, we overspoke that one.
Oh, Microsoft, come on. You just figured it out? God bless them. Microsoft says the days of free Windows 7 to 10 or 11 updates are over. However, Windows 10 keys will continue to be valid for Windows 11 installs. Microsoft says it has closed an installation path that allowed Windows 7 and 8 owners to upgrade to Windows 10 and 11 for free. An official statement to this effect was posted on the Microsoft Device Partner Center communications portal earlier this month and spotted by Windows Central. One of the things that Microsoft did differently with the introduction of Windows 10 in 2015 was to make the new OS a free upgrade for existing users of older OSs. Specifically, it used this free carrot to tempt OS sticklers wedded to the popular Windows 7 release. The offer officially ended on July 29, 2016. However, PC enthusiasts and DIYers noticed that Microsoft's activation servers continued to be happy with people deciding on an overdue update. People could even download fresh Windows 10 and 11 ISOs and install them straight onto machines using spare Windows 7 or 8 keys from old systems. On September 20th, 2023, this grace period finally came to an end. So yeah, the company explains its newly enacted Windows upgrade policy as follows. Microsoft's free upgrade offer for Windows 10 11 ended July 29th, 2016, it says. The installation path to obtain the Windows 7 8 free upgrade is now removed as well. However, Windows 10 users can still upgrade to Windows 11 for now. In addition to the above notice, Microsoft sought to remind those interested in Windows 11 of the operating system's minimum system requirements. Tom's hardware regulars will be well aware of the arbitrary Windows 11 install restrictions concerning processor generation TPM and as well as the more unusual recommendations about RAM and storage. Furthermore, we have documented several ways to get around the Windows 11 minimum system requirements. Some third-party Windows 11 distributions, like Tiny11 from NT Dev, have built-in OS requirement dodges. Oh, the upgrade window remains ajar. Windows Central tested whether Microsoft's new statement on the closure of the free installation path for Windows 7 8 users had actually come into effect. In short, it found that these older keys still active and activate the production builds of Windows 11. It's difficult to be certain how long this upgrade window will remain ajar in the wake of the recent official statement from Microsoft. So, yeah, it sounds like Microsoft is like, for the love of God, will you just update already and move on?
Well, I think this is signaling that we're going to have a new Windows.
Maybe.
They've done the same thing with 98.
Well, Microsoft does have sunsetting periods, and usually that begins by no longer offering updates.
Mm-hmm.
The problem that Microsoft has been plagued by really did happen or start happening somewhere between 95 Vista and Windows 7.
Right.
In which a lot of, again, this kind of goes back to our talking about the labor market. In trying to squeeze every dime of profit out of a business, most companies have significantly reduced their budgets for app development.
Right.
And specifically have adopted a sort of stance that if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
Is the best way to make money and offer products that consumers want, at least in terms of back-end systems.
Right.
So the database and the systems that you use as part of your routine business to operate that business are often going just, like, we paid for it, we use it. It's only compatible with these operating systems and these versions, and we'll just sit here forever. That was sort of the 95 Vista 7 crunch.
Right.
Were the number of companies that were like, yeah, we're not doing that.
Right. Well, and even we waited for Windows 11. Like, we have it, I believe. I don't know. That's your department.
Yes, we are on Windows 11.
Okay. But we still waited to make sure that it was going to not be like Windows Millennium, I believe it is, that no one ever talks about, but was just shitty.
Yeah, well, Windows Millennium Edition, Windows Vista.
Yeah.
Both went a direction. And it became the every other version of Windows is worth having conundrum.
Right.
Because much like and then Windows 8 did it again.
Yeah. So you didn't want I don't think I had Windows 8.
Most people didn't. It was again, these are Windows Millennium Edition, Windows Vista, and Windows 8 Ooh,
Oof.
ooh. They were the dogs in the pony show. Like they just no, they
Windows 8 almost made me want to go to Mac. At that point, I think I told you, if they can't do better than this, let's just go to Mac.
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, Windows 95 was a good standard. Windows 98 second edition was a good standard.
Yeah.
Like a lot of companies got stuck there for a real long time.
Yeah. Windows
Um,
XP I loved and would use
yeah.
like it was steady, good, contained, ready to use.
XP was a solid one. Vista was not.
No.
Vista, oh god. It wasn't that Vista was bad. Let me clarify. It wasn't specifically that Vista was bad, but functionally, and it did give us NT code base,
Yeah.
which kind of unified the Microsoft OS product line and kind of streamlined a lot of development.
Mm-hmm.
The problem was that they tried on top of that to introduce a lot of visual effects.
Right.
And for most users installing the operating system, and especially those upgrading,
Right.
and even those buying computers at the $299 Walmart special of its day, ugh, until you went in and turned all the special features off, it really ground a lot of systems. It ate a lot of performance capacity.
Right.
7 went through and said, okay, yeah, that was probably a little ahead of its time. Let's clean this up.
Well, and I think 7 also kind of fixed some of the problems. I remember, this is back in the old days, I had a hybrid Windows system called Demon, and it ran better than this does on my computer. Like the speed, the fastness, the attentiveness was much more faster.
Well, and there is a lot to be said for tuning operating systems to get
Yeah.
the best performance, to get rid of the bloat.
Right.
And that's sort of what 7 did.
Yeah.
Then we turned around in 8. 8 was not actually bloated in any sense of the word. It was a new design called Material,
Mm-hmm.
which was supposed to take over the world. Everyone wanted Material design. Okay, great. So we flattened everything. Like Aeroglass was the great feature of Vista that killed Vista,
Right.
because it was supposed to make everything look glassy and shadowed and blah blah blah, and all it's going to be pretty. We turned around with the total pendulum swing the other direction for Windows 8 and flattened everything down except where we didn't.
Right.
And that fundamentally became the curse of Windows 8.
Right.
Was some stuff's over here, some stuff's over there. We can't keep up with this.
Right.
Like, it became a very confusing operating system to have to go in and try to fix, repair, and work with. Not to mention, 8, the original 8, was a bit of a revisit of this Windows Millennium Edition. We're gonna flatten it, the whole OS down,
Right.
and supposedly make it easier to use. Instead, we removed the ability to actually multitask. Like,
Yeah.
you still had it. It just wasn't the default way that applications opened on 8. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
created 8.1 was, okay, yeah, stop doing that because you're really screwing my workflow.
Right. And see, my problem is no, they don't really look at how people use their systems.
Mm-mm.
They keep
Well, I
designing.
take that back. They do. The problem is the average user is a horrible baseline to follow.
Yeah.
In this instance, it's because it all depends upon what you're making.
Right.
And that's been kind of Microsoft's malfunction in designing their OSs, is they keep looking at what the average user wants and needs and desires and how their experience should be.
Right.
Which is great, you'd think. What ends up happening is it doesn't really accommodate very well power users. It doesn't accommodate people in technical roles. It doesn't accommodate, or hasn't historically, those of us who are doing more than being cooking, baking grandmas, moving between Facebook to a web browser to a game to, for those of us that are doing multiple things at a time and need those multiple windows and workspaces going on, each of these suffered the same problem, which is you're not doing that in this edition.
Yeah.
Like, this version is horrible for that.
Right.
So again, Windows 10 came back and readdressed those problems of Windows 8. Everyone kind of got happy again. Windows 10 came out, and we all kind of went, oh, how bad is this going to be? Or excuse me, Windows 11 came out, and we kind of went, oh, God, how bad is this going to be? It changed some things, but predominantly for the better. Now, it did finally clean up some of the remaining Windows 8 issues of this is in settings, this is in Control Center.
Right.
Kind of finally, married those enough together that, like, settings is useful on its own for most things.
Yeah, but it still comes with more bloated software that you do not need. But I would like to choose if I want to download a game. I don't want it pre-installed. I spend half my time when we reset my computers uninstalling the crap that go in there.
Well, see, this is where this all gets kind of messed up. And again, you have to back up to Windows 8 to understand what the hell happened.
Right.
See, 8 introduced and made central to it the idea of the Microsoft Store. Kind of marrying itself to the phone platform it was building. That failed.
Horribly.
Unfortunately. But also trying to capitalize on the same success that, like, we were seeing with, like, Chrome OS and with Android devices and Apple devices, all having a love affair with stores.
Right.
And that, like, this is your central repository and place that you go to download, buy, and find applications. And just kind of, like, forget this install software from a CD concept. We're not doing that anymore. We're going to download it from the internet like civilized human beings, because we can do that now. And we basically make Microsoft the gateway for your software. So this, not a horrible thought to have. And I think it's a lot of why Microsoft wasn't initially planning to keep charging for operating systems, and instead thought it was going to make all of its money, like Android, like Apple, off of application sales and percentages of sales. Again, things that didn't turn out well for Microsoft.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that genie was already out of the bottle, and no one wanted to go back in. So Microsoft again found itself with not what it expected.
Well, I get that. And, I'm going to sound horrible, but no, I'm thinking, if they come out and the two computers we just replaced in this house is now outdated, you might as well just go take that certification class. take your happy little butt over to Apple.
Yep.
Um,
Understandable. But no, I think 11 in its pre-installation is trying one last ditch effort to try to get us to use the store.
Well, I get that, but pre-installation bugs me, and here's what I'm talking about. When we start going down the list of apps, I am like, I do not use maps on computer at all.
Right.
You know, and then, news. Well, sorry, I don't want your conservative bickering news. I hear enough about the Orange Oompa Loompa enough. I don't need to see what he's having for dinner today.
Again, this all comes back to Microsoft plays the averages
every
single time.
Right.
Again, why Microsoft can't get playing the middle of the road has never worked for you.
Right.
Never. Not once has the middle of the road average hit you the way you want it to.
Yeah.
It has always caused you problems. And unfortunately, we have a just enough of a slant politically in the world that the average person wants that news. The average person plays, whatever games they're installing because they're top rated. Most users enjoy this.
Yeah.
And the reality is, it's like Microsoft quit playing to the average.
Right.
Quit playing to the average. You're not winning average.
No.
You're actually losing average.
Yeah.
So you'd think their own ideas would teach them that their average is failure.
Well, you would think that they would want to be above average.
Like offer. Well, but again, that's kind of the Apple Microsoft difference. Apple's always gone after think differently and the cohort of users who are more artistic, creative, liberal. That's their bent.
Right.
They have been bent that way for decades now. You're not changing Apple. That's what Apple does. That's their cornered market share. Microsoft, but it's a smaller office share because these are people who have the money to spend for Apple products with that mindset.
Right.
Microsoft, on the other hand, tends to shoot for straight down the middle.
Right.
And looks to encompass, poor liberals, poor creatives, and not by virtue of skill, but financially. And your cookie bacon grandmas and your right-leaning wackadoodles,
right,
all into one massive camp at a massive stake of market share, and run the average. And here you go. Good luck. Hope you like it. Now I can say there's a lot of things about Windows 11 that. Why
do you hide Notepad?
That's not even my biggest gripe. My biggest gripe all along has been Search Preview, which is the dumbest named feature. And it's the reason that right beside the Windows 11 start button, you have the little search box, and then it has weird random pictures that show up. Weird little cutesy graphics. Because we weren't all traumatized enough by fucking Clippy. So now we have this little feature that most people can't figure out how to turn off.
Right.
That gets progressively harder to turn off as each update comes. That basically just sits there and is meant to relay to us that something is special about today.
Well, I get that, but the other thing that annoys the hell out of me is I'm sitting here working, and I put up with enough damn pop-ups. But for my computer to give me pop-ups about try this, try that, or I
Mhm.
go to search for a document because I remember like 5 years ago I wrote an article on discovering your life purpose and the power of now. And instead of searching my documents, because of course I hoard my shit so it can
Mhm.
be reused, they taken a send me to web pages, and it's like
Yes.
I was searching documents.
Right. But that doesn't benefit them.
Right,
And again, this is all part of the same model of Android and other place and like other OSs and other ideas
right,
about how people are searching and what they're searching for and how they mean to search.
right,
And really divorces itself from the idea that no, really, I'd just like to search my hard drive.
right.
I'd really like to search the attached hard drives.
Yeah,
I would love it if you would directly search from that little search bar my
mhm,
OneDrive. If
right.
nothing else, just search my OneDrive while you're giving me ads to download other crap.
Yeah,
Make it useful. But again, they played the average and lost.
yes,
So that's the fundamental story of Microsoft and the fact that it still remains the market leader because it's cheap
hmm
and fairly ubiquitous at this point. And did I mention cheap?
yeah. You mentioned that a few
And
times.
trying
However,
trying to make money.
yeah, trying to make money. However, they're not the cheapest.
No, they are not the cheapest. However, and unfortunately, well, depending. Because your next cheap option really is Chrome OS.
hmm
In terms of cheap, which and it's still actually pretty good and does cross mirror searching. But your absolute bottom of the barrel price wise is typically going to be Linux, and that has been the most struggling little market share that never could.
Right.
Because it requires a level of technical competence,
hmm
not necessarily skill, but confidence,
Right.
and some fiddling.
Right. But looking at us, if I'm replacing computers every 4 years, and every time I turn around, Windows wants to force us to upgrade, to replace, to whatever, in the
Mhm,
middle of that cycle,
mhm,
and they continue to design their software to be obsolete by decades.
mhm.
You know,
Well, actually, the software itself is not being obsoleted per se. Like they're not designing it to be obsolete in like 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever. What they're fundamentally doing with the next version,
right.
because your old version will continue to work on the hardware that it was able to be installed
hmm
with the next version, and they did this pretty hard on Windows 11, is no, it now requires this.
Yeah.
And in turn, that does create an obsolescence point,
Right.
in which you can't have the new thing
hmm
unless you spend money on hardware.
Right.
And again, this is part of a, an, a good or should have been good for consumer change
hmm
um, in how like the exponential growth in processing power peaked.
Right.
We have mostly held solid with what we had 10 years ago, 15 years ago in max speed.
Right.
All we've made since then is incremental changes that are for most people not all that noticeable.
Right.
Especially if you're talking about the average user.
Mm-hmm.
So the average user does not need to buy new anything really.
Right.
So the only two ways to fundamentally continue getting consumers to spend money, so Microsoft makes money on licensing,
Mm-hmm.
are to sunset products at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
They go, look, you got 10 years of updates, and then you're done.
Yeah.
And to simultaneously make newer versions not compatible with older hardware.
Right.
Now, argumentatively, Microsoft has said on 11 that unfortunately, like its semi quote is that unfortunately these changes or these hardware requirements are necessary to do what people want and need out of a modern operating system out of the box.
Right.
Which is fundamentally to remove the need to install performance reducing software to protect us against, the malicious threats of what primarily is our own, I don't want to call it stupidity, but our own little bunny foo-foo, our inner little bunny foo-foo who goes hopping through the forest and just F's up.
Well, here's what gets me. It just drives me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to deal with it with mom's phone all the time, and I really appreciate you doing it because that saves me from buying phones.
Mostly because you'll throw them when you have to address her. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Download this to speed up your system. Download this to clean up your spyware. Protect yourself from hackers.
Not always. See, here's the thing, though. That's what the ads say, and quite frankly, it's not that your mother reads the ad.
Uh-huh.
It interrupts her process.
Yeah.
It interrupts what she's doing.
Yeah.
And she's literally just trying to do whatever.
Right. Go watch her YouTube, check out her TikTok, play her solitaire game.
Yeah. Like I'm trying to play my game. I'm trying to read my article. I'm trying to get my news. I'm trying to get my weather.
Right.
That's her primary thing. The problem with ad-supported software is, it was bad enough when everything was filled with banner ads. Now we have the full screen, takes over your experience, completely locks you out until either you click something or it runs its course. The problem being, and why they're doing this, is because most people want to just make it go away. What do you want? What do you want? You want to install something? Fine, install something. I don't care. Just let me finish my article.
Right.
Let me play the next level.
Right.
And it does for a lot of our older users, a lot of our non-technical users.
Right.
Create an opportunity. Hey, Emily, we're glad you made it.
Hello, darling. Hope you're feeling good. Come sit over here on the comfy chair.
Exactly. It does unfortunately create an opportunity for them to, in their frustration and desire to continue what they were doing,
Right.
To install stuff they don't want or need or care about or even realize they're installing or doing whatever, because it's quite frankly go away.
Mm-hmm.
It's a go away installation.
Right. But,
let me do my thing.
Here's a news flash.
Mm-hmm.
In general,
Mm-hmm.
hard reality. The hackers do not want your cookie baking grandma recipes, your knitting patterns. They do not care about your pictures from the Philippines of the 1970s. You do not need to have a ghost VPN to be bouncing and fucking up your Facebook account so that Facebook thinks you're in 10 different states in one day. You're not a jet setter.
Well, and again, I think most aren't even realizing Now, there are a few that they get drawn in by hackers or trying to get into your system. Click here to install. I mean, no.
Right.
One, honestly, right now we're in a weird state in the world. Is that a lot of your more common daily use things like Facebook do not respond well if you install a VPN. The bigger problem is again, going back to the average user, they don't know what the hell a VPN is or what it does.
Right.
And these companies aren't even telling them what they're truly installing.
Right.
They're like some of the times when I find VPN software on user devices, they didn't even know what a VPN was, what a VPN did, or when they installed it. Right. That is the most common three things these users have no idea.
Right.
What they do remember when you ask them is, do you remember installing something to protect your system?
Right.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Because they don't try to sell VPNs as VPNs anymore. They try to sell them as the Cadillac of user experience, that your system is as secure as it can be from the outside world, which is true of a VPN.
Yeah.
It is true. The problem is they don't know how to turn it on and off.
Right.
It doesn't bypass for the apps that it needs to bypass for, because those apps like Facebook do not work with VPNs and will actually get your account locked.
Right.
And it creates a host of problems for them.
Right.
And trying to resolve those is sometimes the biggest rabbit hole chase of all time.
Right.
Especially when a user, because I did with one, and I felt so bad for this woman. It was the first time that I saw it happen. So I had not had the experience. And she, bless her heart, her account got shut down. Again, cookie baking grandma. She, on Facebook, her account got shut down. She was being asked to supply her a copy of her driver's license.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, those are phrases that make my little IT brain go, wait, what? Huh? No, that can't be Facebook. That is Facebook. There is an account identity verification process that does require proof of identification. So that was level 1 challenge for me. Like, that can't be real. Figuring out it was real. Then we got it all fixed on her computer. We sat there with her computer. We got everything, she scanned her license. We got it to the parameters they wanted for that. Not too big, not too small, not too this, not too anything. Got it through, got her account unlocked. Everything was great. She logged in on her phone. And the phone was the device with the actual problem.
Right.
Because it had a VPN. And so we had to go through this process like 3 times.
Yeah.
Because we were not catching that it was every time she logged in on her phone, it locked it up.
Yeah.
So we finally got to that point, got it removed. This was a multi-day experience. I appreciated the information and educational experience, because it did end up being a thing I had to do a few more times for other people.
Yeah.
And I just remember my thought then was, how in the hell, why did you install a VPN?
Yeah.
Only to learn later, through other people that did it, is they didn't install a VPN.
Yeah.
They don't know what the hell you're talking about a VPN. What's a VPN? What's a VPN do?
Right.
But they remember installing protection.
Right.
So good marketing, great marketing. When users actually even pay attention to the marketing, unfortunately, most of it ends up getting done through a nuisance.
Yeah.
Make the nuisance go away. Slap the flipping mosquito that's sucking up my time.
Right.
And then, lo and behold, you create a cascade of problems. This is the cost of free.
Yeah.
It's always been a problem is the cost of free. Free, everyone loves free. Let's take free. Free this, free swag, free pens, pencils, erasers, all that. We love free. We're obsessed with free. We don't want to spend money. We look for free. Free games, free news, free weather, free everything. Unfortunately, this is the cost you pay for free is the nuisance. And when you try to not accept and tolerate the nuisance because you're getting a free, the next stage is then you pay for it in other ways.
Right. Yeah, and learn your parameters. Learn what everything does. Highly important. All right.
All right, so some comments from Emily here real quick because I think they're important. So Emily's been rocking one of those whiplash headaches today, but finally got it under control. I spent all day today at work fixing the work laptop by essentially removing all the junk antivirusware. You came at the right moment, didn't you? And then Emily points out, I've had to explain to many patrons that unless they're visiting unsafe sites, Microsoft Essentials are really all they need.
Exactly.
I'll go one step farther. Built-in Microsoft security before 10 and 11 was garbage. Like, let's just accept that and move on. 10 had a long row to hoe in order to get decent. I will say the end of 10 moving into 11 and, now basically this, from like about a year or so ago forward, I prefer and will literally tell users to please uninstall their antivirus. I don't care that it's Norton. I don't care that it's McAfee. I don't care that it's some big giant name. Because those applications have gotten to the point that they're trying to make even more money on top of what they're already getting. They're actually becoming more of a problem than a solution.
Yeah.
And that realistically, Microsoft Essentials does it all.
Yeah.
It actually is good. Is it perfect? No. Could it be better? Yes. Is it getting better all the time? Yes. Did Microsoft finally get it through their heads that maybe we need to actually do this crap ourselves? Yes, they did.
Yeah. And, you aren't controlling the world. You don't have anything useful for hackers, especially if it's a cookie bacon or your slides from when you went to Hawaii in 1914. Knock it off.
Well, honestly, the value of a user can often be your scamability.
Right.
So it's not that you have nothing of use. You do. You're always scammable.
Right.
Like,
but I'm saying on your computer, very rarely do you have something usable.
Yeah, you're not the Pentagon. You don't have the secret recipe for Chick-fil-A's chicken nuggets. Like, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not the dog from Bush's baked beans. Okay.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, you are relatively safe online as long as you are generally not randomly installing things. That is fundamentally, though, the problem that we face with most people is installing things to get things that they think they want.
Right.
Only to find out, see, here's the cost of free. Here, which also applies to here's the cost of saving money and installing things that are supposed to help you do that.
Right.
If you like, we have found the perfect appeal to drive economic activity, which is an appeal to fear, an appeal to free, and an appeal to saving money.
Yeah.
If it's one of those three things, if it's free, if it scares the hell out of you, if it's free, or if it suggests it's going to save you money, just click here and install. Don't do it. Don't do it. You will actually walk yourself into more problems.
Right. And, I'll even add on to that. If you want the weather, turn on the TV. You pay for cable. Stop installing AccuWeather because it's not accurate for anything.
No.
Proving that one tonight. They don't even know if it's going to rain or snow this winter.
Weather.com's a little annoying, but it will work.
Yes.
That's my go-to. But don't install their app. I do have to turn around and say that. Please don't install the weather app. Please don't.
Right.
It is almost as bad as the junkware.
Right.
In terms of trying to push you to buy stuff.
Yeah.
Like, just use the website, you'll be fine. Except that for the cost of nothing, you have to put up with something, which is an ad that you wait for it to finish, and then you move on.
Yeah.
Now, Emily also points out, if when you try to uninstall them, talking about antivirus softwares and those things, when you try to uninstall them to guilt you about it, that's how you know that it's junk.
Yeah.
Yes, no legitimate app is like, well, we really hate to see you go. Is there anything we can do to help you stay? Because you're not going to be. Now, if you have to do that at last minute appeal, yeah, again, scare the hell, save you money, or it's free. No, don't do it. Or more importantly, in the case of uninstalling, keep going.
Yes.
Keep going. All right.
Right. So, are you the asshole this week?
All right. Am I the asshole for laughing at my ex and her husband for asking to have our daughter for another month? For some context, I, 46 male, was married to my ex-wife Ida, 46 female, for 21 years before she cheated and remarried to her now dick of a husband, Dan, 48 male. We have 4 kids together: Henry, Zach, Cam, and Rory. This situation only really involves Rory. Since my boys were teens, young adults, when we divorced, they got to choose who they lived with. Rory, on the other hand, didn't. I have Rory most of the time, and I pay for her schooling, medical, extracurriculars, etc. While Ida and Dan get her every other holiday and don't really pay for stuff. Well, for the 4th of July, Rory went over to Ida and Dan's, then stayed there until about a week before school started. Rory confided in me that the whole time she was there, she couldn't really do anything fun and was stuck watching her younger siblings, while Dan and Ida went out. She told me she felt like a babysitter more than a daughter, which hurt my heart for Rory, since she was really excited to see her mother. She also told me she'd like to stick with visits again and not staying for a whole month or 2. Well, about 2 nights ago, I got a call from Ida. She seemed happy and started talking about Rory and how she liked it there. She continued to ramble a bit before asking me to ask Rory about staying another month. I laughed, which caused Ida to be mad, and she hung up. Dan texted me calling me an ass for laughing at her, and my brother said it was kind of mean to do. Am I the asshole? Edit, I honestly didn't mean to laugh. I don't know why I did. Oh, I know why you laughed. You didn't need to, but I know why you laughed. All right.
I don't think you're the asshole. I honestly believe that you're actually pretty damn good at this, and you knew the bitch was lying.
More to the point, it's 2 sides of a story coming together. That's why you laughed, is because these are totally diametrically opposed versions of the story.
Right.
Your ex-wife thinks your daughter really enjoyed it there, is what she said. And your daughter has already told you she did not enjoy it there and would not like to go back for another couple of months. You're now in the middle of these two conversations,
Mm-hmm.
realizing that what your ex-wife should have said was, I really liked having her here because I could exploit her as a free babysitting service, ignore her completely, and go out with my husband and do all the things I wanted to do. And that's what she really wants back,
Right.
is a free babysitter. So I understand why you laughed, because in your head, it's like these two conversations slammed together and you went, oh, that's not what happened, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what's going on, and that's not even what you're asking.
Right.
Now, can I understand that it can be a slap in the face when you ask someone for something and they laugh in your face? I certainly can. I certainly can. I think, though, in this situation, I cannot call you an asshole, so I'm going to go with not the asshole, because you're really not laughing in her face or at her so much as the situation.
Yeah.
That what, and the fact that she is so unaware at best that she doesn't even realize that really you just exploited her for the summer, and now you'd like that back.
Right.
And our daughter wants nothing to do with that idea.
Well, not only does she not want nothing to do with that, she wants to limit her time there.
Mm-hmm. Wants to lock it down. We're not doing that anymore. I'm not here to be your free child care.
Right.
And more importantly, and to then also not get to spend time with her mother. Also, literally, her mother leaves when she's there, but also turn around and not get to do really much anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, like, dangle a carrot in front of a 15-year-old. Dad looks great right now.
Yeah. Oh, you don't want me to, like, go out after 4? No problem, Dad. I'll do anything to come home.
Yes, Daddy, anything, please. Don't send me back there. No, I'm what, like, I totally get Rory. I totally get the dad involved. I totally understand why he laughed, and it was not an insulting laugh. It was that's not what happened.
Yeah.
Like, I've got her version, I've got your version. I'm pretty sure you're the one who does not understand.
Yeah, and maybe you should ask your daughter if she wants to come over wants to stay for another month.
More importantly, start with your daughter in this situation. Like,
Yeah.
ask her if she wants to do this, and then listen to what she says. Not just the no and the emphatic no you're about to get.
Yeah.
But why? And then understand why maybe that's your fault. Like, you had a good thing. You could have had a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you overused it.
Right.
You didn't incentivize it in any way. You didn't pay her for it. You did not make this meaningful to her. And then you went one step further and basically abandoned her once she got there.
Right.
Like, that's her experience. That's how she experienced this. Now, whether that's 100%, I'm saying it's probably about 80% of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you did some father or some mother-daughter stuff. I'm sure you had some quality time. Mm-hmm. What your daughter is the point your daughter is effectively at was, it wasn't enough.
Well, not only was it not enough, it was really bad.
Like, yeah, your daughter came over as a 15-year-old to be in your care, not to come over and be child care.
Right.
You need to learn the difference. You need to learn the difference.
Yes. I just find it even weirder that she would want her to stay another month. What, did you not want to pay child care for the other children you've had?
No, that's basically it. I think she's hoping that she'll come for a month and then stay for another month and then stay for another month.
Right.
And eventually it'll work itself into a full-time gig. She probably isn't even paying child support
Right.
or any kind of anything.
Right.
Because I mean, this sounds like one of those, like, dad got the child and the obligations,
Right.
but didn't really care. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, wasn't wanted the child, wasn't mad about the obligations, and having no support. It's like, I can afford it, she probably can't, or they probably can't. But now it's turning a different direction. It's like, not only did you get an easy divorce and an easy child custody arrangement,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's a fucking cakewalk, man, or more importantly, woman.
Yeah.
Not only did you get that, but now you want the added bonus of having primary physical custody and free labor on top of all of that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, I understand why you laughed. I don't think you had any malice behind the laugh.
Well, I don't think it's malice. I think it's, whenever else you hear anything ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
a human
Well,
reaction.
yeah, it's, some laughs you can't stifle,
Mm-hmm.
because what you just heard is so, like, all right, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start. Well, because take this from the position of the dad on the phone. Where does he even start? Okay, because that's not how my daughter or our daughter explained that to me. I can already tell you our daughter does not want to do that. I don't even know what you're thinking. I don't know what experience you had.
Well, mom
Other
had a great summer. She went out with her new husband. She's gone to, without having to be a parent. Like, she had a wonderful summer.
Right. Well, and I think it speaks more to, and maybe it's the bent of the OP being the father,
Mm-hmm.
but it does kind of speak to, like, the same, like, self-interest and blindness towards others that kind of drips in this post of how this marriage ended.
Yeah.
Of, like, you didn't grow up, you just found someone to go play with.
Right.
Like, you're not really getting it. Like, you didn't grow from the experience of cheating on me and then marrying your affair partner and now having children with them. And our daughter is unfortunately caught in the middle.
Right.
Like, I can't even. Again, I don't think it was a malice laugh. I don't think that OP is really there. I think there's still some hurt over the divorce. But I think there's reasonable hurt and reasonable, like, your wife really is, your ex-wife really is kind of self-interested and blind to the needs of others.
Well, that and dents.
Like, because even if only 80% of what your daughter said about her summer is true,
Mm-hmm.
that's still too much.
Yeah.
That's still too much. That's a lot to ask out of a 15-year-old.
Right.
To just be full-time child care. We're going to go run away and have fun, take care of your siblings, don't go out, don't go anywhere, don't do anything, just sit in the house and babysit.
Right. And oh, you've had such a good summer here this year. What was she giving? And a progress, an employee review?
Well, I think part of it's that. I think part of it is Rory, the daughter, the 15-year-old daughter, is probably a great babysitter.
Yeah.
She's probably a great older sister. She's like, the kids probably loved her. She probably did a lot with the kids.
Yeah.
I'm sure on some level the kids loved it. I'm sure on some level you interpreted that to mean, since she didn't yell and scream and throw a fit and none of the kids died or got injured or had a bad time or whatever, that she was enjoying that.
Right.
And it's like, no, she was parenting.
Right.
She was, rolling with the punches and trying to be a good sibling in a parental role. She was being the kind of mother you should have been, and filling the void, and doing it phenomenally well.
Right.
Is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I fundamentally think this is someone who really shouldn't have kids.
Right.
Because I think that children are part of the lifestyle she wants. And because I don't mean I think she's a horrible, abusive, terrible mother. I just don't think that's the lifestyle she wants, and exploiting her 15-year-old lets her have the lifestyle she actually wants.
Right. All right, so the poll is up. Vote on, if he's an asshole for laughing at the ex-wife. All right. So on to poly advice. This is a fun one.
Oh, talk about marrying our careers. Favorite apps for household organization. The most consistent need in our long-time neurodiverse poly family over the years has nothing to do with sex, but with finding better apps to try to stay organized. Between us, we have iPhones, Android, iPads, Android tablets, 2 Macs, and 1 Windows laptop. Any app we use as a family has to be able to sync across all those devices. I don't see any threads about this. I thought I'd share what has worked very well for us in hopes that others will share what has worked for them, and then we all benefit. My all-stars. Calendar, Google Calendar. I'm old enough to remember polylife before online calendars and cell phones. Google Calendar was a huge game changer for so many of us. Our group calendar is so old that none of us could remember what the family Gmail address was. We know your pain.
Yes, I know the address. I hope you know the password.
Maybe. We had to start a new family Gmail and build a new calendar, still free, thank goodness. Shopping list, our groceries. When the task of shopping fell on one person's shoulders during the pandemic, this app made it easy to coordinate. Everyone in the family uses the family Gmail to log in. It's not free, but it's a one-time charge per device, which feels reasonable given its ease of use. Being able to quickly check off items while shopping is where it shines the most. Paprika recipe organizer. I used to be the cook in the family, but I'm not able to do as much these days, and my partners have taken over the cooking. Everyone in the family uses the family Gmail to log in. Because I have several dietary restrictions, we needed an app that would allow for a high degree of customization, but still be easy for beginners to use. I like that it is simple to scale recipes up and down. It also comes with a meal planner and a shopping list. I'm not wild about them, except for planning bigger holiday meals. It's not free. It's a one-time use per device. Where it is most outstanding is its search feature and how easy it is to save recipes from any website. Click, click, you're done. No more digging through a long blog to get to the recipe. Other apps we use frequently as a family: Facebook Messenger and Spotify, family plan. Google Notes, the reliability falls apart when it's being used by more than 2. Raindrop.io, bookmark manager. We have a lot of shared Google Docs and Sheets. My app wish list. Get the family using password manager apps. If one of us dies, we'll be able to log in and manage their online stuff. LastPass for the win there. That's my recommendation on that one. So we need a collection organizing app, books, DVDs, games, etc. Leaning towards I collect everything but haven't committed. We want to use barcodes to scan things in. Plus, I want to be able to export info to spreadsheets. Oh, sweetheart, the perfect app is so dead. I know what you want. It existed. It's dead. Because that was a Palm app and it was amazing. But it was not going to be shareable. Like, if Palm had survived into the current day, it probably would be, but I don't have a recommendation on that. But I think that's yeah. And in case of emergency app, right now I use spreadsheets to keep track of medical stuff. I think there must be a better option. You know, I see that becoming a 10-year problem for us.
Right.
Like right now, it's not a problem, though. I will quite frankly say, if we had to go to the emergency room and someone says, "What meds is he on?" I'm gonna be like, "You name it, he's probably on it. I don't know. Good luck."
Well, honey, I think that's where, and I'm gonna have to hold one of my recommendations till Sunday
Okay.
comes
Absolutely.
into play.
Yeah. Finances. My kryptonite. I tried Tiller HQ but got overwhelmed quickly. Others seem they only work for 1 to 2 people. Would appreciate suggestions. Again, that can be a hard one.
Trello.
True. I think they're wanting something, though, that's a little more integrated.
Okay.
Like, as in auto update the balances, automatically keep track of the statements, automatically do all the things.
Ooh, that would be nice. I'm gonna follow this thread, by the way, so that I can check out some of the recommendations on this one.
Yeah. Not to mention something that also tracks all the expenses across all the payment methods.
Oh Lord.
And potentially catches that, like, like 2 people are paying for the Spotify family because oops.
Yeah.
Or because when we've sat down and did this manually, we were horrified at how much we spent on streaming services. That, like, we had to have a sit down meeting and go, who is watching what where?
Right.
Like, we will pay for all this if we have to. Like, but I can't believe that we need Hulu, Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, and I think there was a 5th one I can't even remember. Gaia TV.
Gaia. Which, by the way, my review of Gaia is don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Everything is available on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then that's what it was because I think we had 2 different music services at one point.
3. We have had 3 at the same time.
3 at the same time, yeah. I'm thinking there's one more streaming or something that, like a streaming service, that was also in there that was like, oh my god, the duplication. We cannot be this bored.
Yeah.
We cannot potentially be this, like, spread out in our interests that we can't consolidate this. And
nobody was using some of them. I was like,
right. More importantly, it was like, it's not like we have children. It's not like there's 2 adults and a child in which you could start to see, totally different interest areas. Like a small child. Like, I understand if you have, like, a less than a tween, you gotta have the Disney. I get that. But, like, we were just sitting here and just the sheer number, it's like, we cannot be this different.
Right.
There's got to be common ground here.
Right.
And we went through, and I think we more than have that. Because, we kept
Prime because cut it out. We kept Prime because I like the shipping.
Yeah, we kept HBO Max because it was part of the cell phone bill. It was a freebie. It's now like $2 or something a month.
No, it's still in our plan.
Right, but now it's an extra charge for it, or will be. It's supposed to be.
Hasn't yet.
Okay, so
let's take a moment here.
Yeah,
I'm the one that will line item a bill, but I don't care what per ounce it is.
YouTube Red, that was the other thing. We also had YouTube Red for YouTube Music.
Right.
At the time, That's what we wanted the red subscription for, was the music.
Well, I wanted it for the YouTube.
Right. So we went too far, we cut it off, and then we were all miserable.
Right.
Like, YouTube Red spoiled us, I will say. You get used to not having ads, and then you get ads back, and it's like, sweet Jesus, make it go away.
Yes.
So yeah, we had to finally break down and be like, we're paying for that again. Like, I don't even care about the music now. I just get rid of the fucking ads
quickly.
Yes, because it like, truly, in the time that we had YouTube Red, it jumped tremendously by volume and frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Of, like, not only the frequency in which ads are occurring, but also the time spent on ads. So it's like, I'm trying to watch this 20-minute thing. I have 4 ad breaks, and they're all like a minute and a half apiece.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm sorry, this 20-minute video just became like a 40-minute thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And then when you have people with diverse technology uses, Life 360 comes in handy for a period of time. Like, that's very easy to keep up with who's where.
It can be, though I know there's a lot of back and forth on that one.
Right. Well, what I mean by that is, it's great for events. It's great for trying to figure out, like, who's where to pick up what.
Right. I think if you're starting to potentially worry about your spouse, it's a great app.
Mm-hmm.
As in, you're, and especially in a polycule, if you're in a situation where at least one of you might potentially be heading towards dementia.
Well, I don't think it's the dementia factor. Mm-hmm. I would lean more to the factor of, okay, and this is what I use it for a lot, is, okay, someone needs to pick up cigarettes. Where are the 3 of you? Who's headed home next?
Yes.
When do I need to turn the crock pot on?
Right. And I'm not saying that's a bad use of it.
Right.
I'm not. I just know that for Life 360 and like location tracking apps,
mm-hmm.
Sometimes it has a tendency to feel very like I'm being watched.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything I do, like, it makes me feel weird when someone's like, oh, like, I'm literally approaching a Walmart, and it's like, oh, can you stop at Walmart and grab soda? And it's like, stop watching me! Like, no! Like, no. This is, like, I don't mind to stop and grab soda. That's not my problem. If you'd texted me and said, can you stop and grab soda? I would have stopped and grabbed soda. It's not a problem. But when it's like, I'm right here, I now know I'm right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, it forever, like, because we had it forever kept me creeped out.
Right.
And it's like, stop fucking tapping on the glass.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's fish in a bowl syndrome. It feels very like ding, 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 ding. It's...
Right.
And I know that's me, but I think that is a commonality of experience, because it is part of the debate a lot of people have over it.
Right.
Is feeling like they're being tracked and watched, and at all times.
Right.
Little more than, like, it
right.
starts to also feel like there's no trust that I am where I say I am, or
right.
I'm doing what I'm say I'm doing, or I'm going where I said I'm going.
Right.
And it's also slightly annoying when you're sitting there and you make a wrong turn and you know that it's tracked on a map. And it's like, I always felt like I had, every time I made a wrong turn, that it's like, it's not dementia, my mind drifted, I passed the exit. Okay?
Right.
And it just, it's not dementia. It's
Right.
not dementia. It is, I was daydreaming. I was zoned out.
Right.
Oh, but yeah, it just, I don't know,
Right.
yeah. Again, for some people, it's really, it's not that I don't know that my devices track me everywhere I go. It's just I don't usually have someone review that.
Debatable. Debatable. The other thing I think has come in handy for the family is Trello. Like, granted, one of them isn't there yet, but it's very easy to put things, post-it notes on there, and for them to be addressed.
Yeah, Trello is a great one, I think,
Yep.
for trying, like, working on, like, organization and communication in general,
Mm-hmm.
and, like, what's going on. Because sometimes it's not just that you have an appointment.
Right.
Like, like, for a lot of us, the calendar is important. Like, it is the like, primary, like,
Right.
keystone item.
Right.
What comes after that is like, where's the fucking documents
Right.
for, like, the insurance we've got on the TV 6 months ago?
Right.
Because now we have a problem with it, and we got to find, like, I know I bought the insurance.
Right.
I don't know how long the insurance is good for. I don't know what it covers. I like, where's the paperwork for that?
Right.
Like, you can put it there. And then put where you actually store it at.
Right.
So it does kind of take care of like, because they're talking about just like an in case of emergency and a password manager,
Right.
and thinking that's where the problems really stop.
Right.
And it's like, no, if something incapacitates you,
Right.
it also becomes, well, where the hell do we keep, the damn snow boots?
Right.
Where the hell, are, like, where all are we getting prescriptions from?
Right.
Like, where do we buy this obscure thing at?
Right.
What's the number that I need to call? Like, who's our fucking lawn guy?
Yeah.
Like, I know them. I've watched them come to our property for multiple years now. I somehow don't have that stored.
Right.
Like, I know his name.
Mm-hmm.
Though usually I'm calling the wrong name to the wrong person, because somehow I've always had that confused and backward.
They're brothers, and you get them mixed up.
But no, seriously, like, it's a struggle for me to find their information if I'm the one that has to suddenly call them.
Right.
I've done it. I know it's there. It's buried in there somewhere.
Right.
In my phone. But if we put that in Trello with, like, this is our plumber, this is our,
right.
This is our dog groomer, this is our veterinarian, this is where we get, this is where we buy, this is who we go with, this is who does.
Yeah.
Like, this is our mechanic preferred. If we keep all that information together, then that's one less thing we have to stress about, like, oh my God, in the middle of, like, the pipe just burst in the kitchen. Right. Who the fuck am I supposed to call? What am I supposed to do? It's just like, okay, like, as long as we have power,
right?
Go check Trello, it's in there.
Right.
So yeah.
And it's cross-deviceable.
Pardon? Oh yeah, cross device. Yes.
Right, and that's the other important thing. That's becoming a highly important thing.
Yeah.
So,
I think more and more apps are becoming, like, focusing on being cross-device compatible.
Mm-hmm.
I think that fundamentally, like, if it's a game, it would be nice for it to be cross-compatible.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily have to be. But when we start trying to sell, like, productivity, organization, like those kinds of apps, yeah, cross-device is like,
Yep. Which is the one I am going to hold out till Sunday about. We will talk about my recommendation for on Sunday. The other thing that's missing from their arsenal that can be quite handy. So with that, you've been ruled not the asshole this week. You can laugh at people that tell bold-faced lies to your face and not be an asshole.
Well, especially when you're just realizing the contradictions.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
So with that, we do want to
Okay, so of course, yes. So of course we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all our wonderful benefits that our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. All right, guys, we'll see you Sunday. Remember, we're an hour early because we're setting up the quarter.
Yes. Hey, you forgot something.
What?
Tomorrow's Psychic Saturday.
Yes. Book your appointments, get your discounts. Remember, baristas, use your other code because you also get a discount on that.
Yes, and it's not too late to become one of our Patreons and get that discount.
Yes.
It's $1 a month, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.